this little bit of glee out of it. So Max gets kidnapped and is brought down into the sewer where he meets the Penguin. And what I really liked about the Penguin is I really liked that they made him kind of grotesque.
Yes.
That he's not. I mean, he's not like Burgess Meredith. He eventually does have the top hat and the monocle and like the tuxedo, but he's got that gross hair and like the real long beak of a nose.
And the onesie that he's always wearing.
Yeah, like the old time underwear, like the prospector looking Old West underwear. With he's got the nasty teeth and that like kind of green, almost like slime or bile he's always kind of spitting out as he's talking.
That's for me that ooze or whatever it was supposed to be was the iconic Penguin look for that film. Like I feel like that represents him well. You know?
Yeah. It's a fun costume and makeup design for the Penguin that kind of went away from especially the Adam West version, but the traditional Penguin look. He looked more like a monster. And then obviously he has the flippered hands.
Mm-hmm.
Where I think he just has the thumb and the pointer finger. And then the rest of his fingers are fused together, and that's that flipper look. But he has like the gloves.
Yeah.
Later on, he's got like the really tight, like black,
like latex looking.
Yeah. To cover up his hands, but he's down there, and he meets Shrek, and then he tries to blackmail him. Because he wants to get introduced to the citizens of Gotham, and he says that he wants respect and he wants his humanity. He wants to find out who he is, and he wants Shrek to help him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has the fun little bit where he's going through all the trash. He's like, oh, here's some toxic waste from one of your power plants, and here's the documents that prove that he owns all the tenements, all the shitty buildings in Gotham. He says, "Oh, those would have been shredded," and he pulls out like all these documents are all taped up.
He's like, "There's nothing you can't do with a lot of tape and a little patience."
Yeah. And then a bit about, whatever happened to your business partner. And he's like, oh, yeah, he's on extended vacation. And he has the hand. He's like, hey, I'm Fred's hand. And he, like, shakes his hand with it.
He's like, remember I told you, whatever you flush.
Whatever, yeah. He's like, what you put in your toilet, I put on my mantle. Like, you flushed it, I flaunt it.
Oh, man.
And DeVito's got a ton of great lines as the Penguin.
Yeah, super pervert, that Penguin.
Yeah, he's pretty sleazy. So after all the mess at the tree lighting ceremony, Selina returns to her apartment, and it's the typical kind of bachelorette apartment.
Mm-hmm.
It's just very spare. She's got the cat. She's talking to the cat like it's a person. Mm. She says, honey, I'm home. And then she goes, oh, yeah, that's right, I'm not married. And she plays, the messages on her answering machine. And there's a message from her boyfriend, which is pretty funny. Which I think that's Tim Burton. I think I read like one of the IMDb just like random trivia said that the second message is Tim Burton. But he's saying, oh yeah, that trip we were going to take, I'm going to have to take it by myself because, my doctor, my psychiatrist says I shouldn't be an appendage. I should be my own person.
And she goes, some appendage.
Yeah, he just kind of blows her off like that. But then the next message is a message from her saying, hey, you need to return to the office because you forgot this. So she goes back to the office, and Shrek comes back and catches her in the files, and turns out that she discovered that the power plant isn't really a power plant. It's more of a what does she call it? It's basically going to steal power from Gotham, and then he's going to sell it back to them at a higher rate. Is basically what his plan for the power plant is. And she talks about, oh yeah, I found out that this is more of a power storage than a plant. And he starts getting really threatening with her, and then fakes her out, kind of says, I got you. And then just as she starts to laugh and think that it's a joke, he turns around and pushes her out the window. And she falls however many stories through a couple awnings and lands in the street. And then this group of feral cats kind of come out of the alleys and surround her, and her one's like biting her finger.
For that scene, I would assume that's supposed to convey that they are passing on, like, her, giving her 9 lives.
Yeah, that's kind of what it seems like. She fell from a pretty great height, so I would say she's most likely dead. She lands in a position that doesn't look entirely comfortable. So I'm assuming that the cats, what is being conveyed there is, the cats are giving her life, resurrecting her, and she makes mention of it later on that she's got 9 lives. But then after that, she goes home and she's almost like a zombie, and goes into her apartment and says all that stuff. And
she kind of plays out what we saw her, like the bad girl version of what we saw in the beginning. Yeah,
like real spacey. And then she listens to the phone messages, and there's more from her mom saying, "Why haven't you called me?" And then there's this really creepy one. Did you listen to the one for the Gotham Lady perfume?
Yeah.
It's like real problematic. It's saying that if she wears that at the office, her boss is going to ask her to stay for a candlelight staff meeting for 2.
It's like a precursor to the Axe spray, man.
Yeah, it's really weird. But then she kind of freaks out at the message. The message of the boss asking her to stay, and she starts trashing her apartment. And then she finds like I wouldn't even say it's leather. It's almost like that synthetic vinyl, or like the pleather.
Yeah.
She finds that jacket, and then she starts cutting it up and making her costume out of that. And then that's another scene where like the Burton score is really good and really creepy.
I love when she because there's this she has like the neon letters
yes,
lights in her room where it says hello there, and she when she's going through her transformative phase, she breaks the the 2 letters, and then it spells hell here, right?
Yeah. And there's a good shot after she's made the outfit where she's standing and she's framed by the window.
Mm-hmm.
And she's standing there and she's talking to Miss Kitty, her cat, and you can see the hell here in neon behind her.
She says some one-liner like, I don't know about you, Miss Kitty, but I feel way more yummy, or something like that.
Yeah, something. And this is what we talked about before. Like the timeline gets a little sketchy because it's obviously the next day. The mayor is holding a press conference to address the previous night's attack, and that's when the clown comes out of nowhere and steals the baby. And what does he say? He's got a good line too. He's like, "Oh, I'm not much for words, so I'll just say thanks." And then he disappears into the sewer, and then there's this big stage, this big staging where he says, "Oh, it's the Penguin Man, don't hurt me." And it shows him, handing over the baby to the Penguin, and the Penguin comes up from the street, and everyone's all aghast, and he gives the baby back to the mayor.
So he looks like the hero. They frame him as the hero.
Yeah, it was all staged to make him look like the hero, and then he gets in front of the TV cameras and say that, "Hey, I just want to find out who my parents were and why they did what they did," and he's really going for sympathy. And honestly, he gets it. He gets it because Bruce is watching TV, and I think the story of the Penguin being an orphan is, hits home with him.
Yeah, because at first Bruce is like, "Oh yeah," I think he murmurs to himself real quick, like, "Oh, I hope he finds his parents," or whatever, right?
Yeah. He tells Alfred, it's his parents. I hope he finds them. But then he kind of suspects that something else is up. That there's more to this, and he starts doing some digging and is looking into the whole history of the circus, of the Red Triangle Gang. And there's, news clippings of I think like a bird boy.
Mm-hmm.
So he's looking at that, and at the same time, the Penguin is in the Hall of Records looking for who he is, going through all that, and then he comes out and does the thing where he goes to the cemetery and lays the roses on the grave of his parents.
Yeah, in front of the tombstones, right?
Yeah. He goes through his tombstones, and then as he is leaving the cemetery, they say, "Hey, Penguin," and he says, "Hey, my name's not Penguin, my name is Oswald Cobblepot." So then from there, he assumes the Cobblepot identity. And then he's got a great line too, where he says, "I was their number one son, but they treated me like number two."
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the sketchy timeline is, because then when we go back to Shrek's office, he's meeting with Bruce Wayne, and that's when Selina comes in, and they ask her about the night before. So that's, like you said, maybe that was a continuity error somewhere, but there's obviously a day in between where she's not there,
mm-hmm.
or her story isn't being addressed while the Penguin is having his story addressed. Did you notice that when Bruce Wayne meets with Shrek, he's almost got like the Beetlejuice suit on? Walken's got like the Beetlejuice suit on. It's like the real thick gray and black pinstripes.
Yeah, I did notice that.
It's not like the black and white the black and white exact Beetlejuice suit, but it's pretty close. It's the gray and black pinstripes, but the pinstripes are real thick, and that's immediately what I thought of when I saw that. I was like, "Oh shit, he's got the Beetlejuice suit on." But Bruce tells him, "Hey, Cobblepot's a gang leader. He's a crime boss. I don't know it, but I can't prove it, but I know that it's true." And then, Shrek kind of threatens him, and that's when Selina comes in. Shrek wants to run Cobblepot for mayor,
mm-hmm.
To endear him to the masses, but also because he knows that the mayor opposed the power plant plan, so he wants to install his own guy in there so that they can improve the power plant. So he wants Cobblepot to run for mayor. So he tries setting that up, and then as a way to make it look like the mayor's weak on crime, Cobblepot's going to have the Red Triangle Gang terrorize the city.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're doing, and that's the scene with the poodle when it has the grenade, and when he fights those clowns in the street, and then he has the